Do you believe the fourth time's the charm? Habs Nation? Because the Montreal Canadiens seem determined to test that theory with a familiar target who just won't leave Kent Hughes' wish list. We're talking about Jordan Kyrou. Yes, once again. But this time, the landscape is entirely different. Montreal has stunned the league, sitting in second place at the Olympic break, and they've made it clear they're buyers at the trade deadline. And the explosive news today is that their focus has shifted dramatically. Forget the desperate hunt for a center. The top priority now is an elite winger, a true top-line winger, to skate and soar alongside Nick Suzuki and Caufield. Insider David Pagnotta dropped the bombshell that the Habs GM may be circling back to Kyrou. The player has already signaled he's open to leaving St. Louis, a team deep in rebuild mode, and he's craving a fresh start. So, I'm throwing this question into the storm. Do you think Jordan Kyrou is the perfect partner to unlock Caufield's ultimate potential, or is his contract too massive a risk to take right now? Speaking of risk and money, we're staring at an $8.1 million problem. How does Montreal squeeze that hefty salary under the cap without room to spare? The answer lies within our own roster, and we've discussed him plenty here. Patrik Laine. For this math to work, Laine has to be the sacrificial piece. It's essentially swapping an $8.7 million headache for an $8.1 million bet. What's most intriguing is that despite Kyrou's down year with just 32 points, respected analysts like Travis Yost highlight that he's been plagued by absurd statistical bad luck. Even more surprising, the St. Louis Blues actually defend better when he's on the ice. In other words, he might be on the verge of an offensive explosion. All he needs is a change of scenery. But hold on, Montreal isn't alone in this chase. Seattle and Washington missed out on Panarin and are desperate for a star winger. The competition is going to be cutthroat. So, the ultimate question for you, the fan, would you trade Patrik Laine's expiring contract for Jordan Kyrou's long-term deal today, banking on his speed to ignite the top line? Or would you rather let Laine walk for free and save the money for later? Drop your take in the comments. Because if Kent Hughes dials up St. Louis for the fourth time, this might finally be the moment the deal gets done. Let's dive deeper into the saga that's gripped Habs Nation for years. Jordan Kyrou's name has haunted trade rumors in Montreal like a shadow that won't fade. Every deadline, every offseason, it creeps back into the conversation. But this time, the stakes feel higher, the context sharper. We're not a rebuilding team scraping for future pieces anymore. We're in the playoff hunt, and management is sending a loud message. This core is ready to win now. Kent Hughes has played the long game masterfully. He's stockpiled assets, nurtured young talent, and bided his time for the perfect strike. That moment might be upon us. The question isn't whether Kyrou has the skill. He undeniably does. It's whether he's the right piece, at the right cost, at the right juncture. What does Kyrou bring to the table? At his peak, he's a dynamic, game-changing winger with blistering speed and a knack for creating offense. His ability to carry the puck through the neutral zone with control is something Montreal sorely lacks. Too often, we're stuck in dump-and-chase mode, squandering our speed. Kyrou could redefine how we attack, gaining the zone with possession and opening up the ice. Picture him on a line with Suzuki and Caufield. Suzuki, the cerebral playmaker, can feed the puck with precision. Caufield, the lethal sniper, thrives on space and shot opportunities. Kyrou's pace would stretch defenses thin, generate odd-man rushes, and carve out lanes for both line mates. The potential synergy is electric. This could be a line that gives opposing coaches nightmares. But let's confront the giant in the room. That contract, $8.1 million per year until 2031. That's not a fling. It's a lifelong commitment. If Kyrou arrives and flops, if the chemistry fizzles, if his defensive shortcomings become glaring, Montreal is shackled for nearly a decade. With a modified no-trade clause, Kyrou holds significant sway over his future, making an exit strategy even trickier. Yet, context is everything. The salary cap is expected to climb sharply in the coming years. What looks like an overpay now could be a steal by 2027 or 2028. If Kyrou rebounds to 75 to 80-point production, $8.1 million for a prime age, first-line winger becomes a smart investment. The gamble hinges on whether you trust his ability to resurgence, and whether a new environment can reignite his spark. Travis Yost's deep dive into the stats offers a glimmer of hope. The numbers suggest Kyrou's been snake-bitten this season. His underlying metrics show he's creating high-quality chances and contributing to solid two-way play. But the puck just isn't finding the net. Hockey's a game of variance. Elite players sometimes endure slumps where nothing clicks, only to erupt when the tide turns. If Montreal can snag Kyrou at a discount due to this dip, it's a quintessential buy-low move Hughes is known for. The defensive concerns can't be ignored, though. Kyrou isn't shut down forward. He's not contending for Zelka trophies. But the data showing St. Louis defends better with him on the ice is reassuring. He's not a total liability. And let's be real. When you're targeting a player of his offensive caliber, you're not banking on him to lock down opposition. You're banking on him to outscore them. Now, the Patrik Laine angle is a fascinating wrinkle. This would be a swap of problematic contracts, but with starkly different timelines and risks. Laine's deal runs out after next season. Kyrou stretches to 2031. Laine has flashed brilliance, but battled inconsistency and injuries. Kyrou's been more durable, but is currently underachieving. From a cap perspective, trading Laine for Kyrou makes sense if you believe in Kyrou's upside. You're locking in long-term to a player you trust rather than letting Laine walk for nothing. But what else does St. Louis demand? Doug Armstrong doesn't do favors. He'll want more than just offloading Kyrou for Laine's contract. Are we talking a first-round pick? A blue-chip prospect? Multiple assets? The cost is critical. If Montreal has to gut their prospect pool or surrender significant future draft capital, the deal loses its luster, even if Kyrou thrives. The competition from Seattle and Washington ramps up the pressure. With multiple teams vying for Kyrou, the price inflates. Armstrong can pit suitors against each other, maximizing his return. Montreal might be forced to overpay to land their man. Is Hughes willing to go there? His history shows discipline, but he's also proven he'll pounce aggressively when the timing feels right. There's a psychological factor at play, too. Kyrou reportedly wants to come to Montreal. That's huge. A player who sees this as a destination, not a demotion, is more likely to excel. The mental side of hockey often gets overlooked. A fresh start in the city he's excited about could be the catalyst Kyrou needs to rediscover his form. The timing feels ripe in one sense. Montreal is contending now, not in some distant future. If you believe this core can make a deep playoff run, adding a potential difference maker is logical. But the timing also carries risk because you're committing long-term based on current success, which isn't guaranteed. What if this season's a fluke? What if injuries strike next year? Then you're tethered to a pricey contract on a team no longer in the hunt. This is the kind of decision that can make or break a GM's legacy. If Kyrou joins Montreal and flourishes, if he becomes a piece that propels his team into true contention, Kent Hughes will be hailed as a visionary. If Kyrou falters, if the contract turns into a burden, if Montreal gives up too much, Hughes will face relentless criticism. So where do I stand? I think the move could work if the price isn't exorbitant. If Montreal can land Kyrou without parting with cornerstone prospects like Lane Hutson or David Reinbacher, and they can offload Lane's contract in the process, it's a risk worth taking. The upside is massive. A top line of Kyrou, Suzuki, and Caufield could be among the league's most lethal. The speed, creativity, and finishing would be off the charts. But if St. Louis demands a moon, if the cost includes multiple high picks or key young pieces, Hughes should walk away. Other wingers will hit the free agent market. Other trades can be explored. Desperation breeds mistakes, and Hughes has been too savvy to fall into that trap. The fourth time might truly be the charm for Kent Hughes and Jordan Kyrou. The stars are aligning in a way they haven't before. Montreal is competitive. Kyrou wants to move. St. Louis is rebuilding, and the need is glaring. But charm only counts if the deal makes sense. What's your take, Habs Nation? Is this the move to push Montreal over the top, or a dangerous bet that could backfire? Would you swap Laine for Kyrou, or hold off for cap flexibility? Let me know in the comments. Smash that like button if this rumor has you hyped, and stick around because the story is heating up and we'll be on top of every development.